everybody, my name's Ben Elliott. It's great to be a part of this online expression of fresh streams for 2021. I'm the Head of Communications at The Well in Sheffield, and I'm also the founder of the Church Comms Collective, which is the biggest peer-to-peer support network for church communicators in the UK. A great place to be able to grow together and basically become better in terms of every aspect of church communications. You're welcome to join the Facebook group Church Comms Collective UK. So today we're going to unpack various different aspects. We're going to look at social media, at websites, broad communications in general. I'm going to give you some tips and pointers so you can go and take away and basically grow on what you're hearing. And also there might be areas which flare up for you thoughts of, I need to go deeper in that area. I have no idea what I'm doing. Hopefully there'll be some signposts here to enable you to take next steps and be able to grow in confidence in communicating effectively in this season and the seasons to come. We're going to break this down into chapters. We're going to dive right now into chapter 1. So chapter 1 is actually a huge encouragement to you. March 2020, COVID kicked off, and we leveraged this new opportunity of online to be able to continue to take what we knew of church and translate that into some kind of online experience where we could have continuity, we could provide opportunities for prayer, for worship, for teaching, and we could actually grow as a church. We also provided the opportunity for the unchurched to connect and plug in like never before. Effectively, the roof was lifted off the church and there was an opportunity to invite everybody in from the comfort of their own home. And that opportunity was there before, it is there now, and it will continue to be there. And we need to think, how best can we use these online vehicles to continue to actually take the message out there, to reach the unchurched, to provide resources to equip our church families. Many of the church might not have ever thought of seeing it that way before, and many are probably just partying the fact that the church is now so much more visible online than it ever was before. I don't think we should lose the gains we've made. We need to look into how can we make attractive and easy ways for people to be able to connect with the good news and make sure that the doors are wide open, and that online actually presents, in my opinion, the greatest opportunity to connect with people and draw them into a discipleship journey than any other way. It's an important aspect of communication strategy, full stop. And anybody who's heard me speak before will always hear that I always see digital as a vehicle to facilitate actual communications, one-to-one pieces. So it's not like I don't think that stuff should happen when it's safe to do so. We should definitely be together. This is the tickets, the posters, it's the equivalent of what we might see in terms of visual aspects to help start conversations, to be the triggers to find out more, to be able to have those nuggets of hope and reminders and worship when we need it. And actually the church building is closed because it's 3 o'clock in the morning and we really need to hone into some truth. We can dive into a great talk, or we can hear some truth spoken. It's there and it's present like it never has been before. So well done for using and doing everything you've done. Let's run forward with it and take this and actually see so many more people reached and blessed for the kingdom. So chapter 2 is all about audience. We as the church have the greatest product, the grace, the message of Jesus, the truth in the gospel. But we as the church don't always do the best job of actually marketing that product. And I'm sorry to use those words of product and marketing, but effectively there is something there that needs to be told about, and that's what the marketing is. We're just sharing the message. So how do we do that better? Now, digital is seen as this new thing to kind of step into, this new emerging thing, and in some respects it is, but actually it's been here for enough time now to actually make sure that we include it without a doubt within every aspect of our communications that we're doing. It always has to be considered, never an afterthought to add on now. It's part of every aspect that we're doing, every aspect that we're using. People have got different preferences for how they actually will connect. A lot of people watching this probably might love reading. It's understanding, actually presenting the message in a multitude of ways so that we can connect with people who've got different communication preferences. And some people won't want to watch anything on social media and be completely against it. And by all means, we need to make sure there's easy opportunities for those guys to connect in other ways. So by no means does this mean neglecting any aspect of our church community or the unchurched. It's just utilising everything which is available as best we can for maximum impact. I hope that makes sense. So the first rule of good communications is to understand your audience. And the way I see it in quite simple terms is two groups. I always imagine our church building and I think about the people walking past, driving past, on the bus. What must they ask about what's going on inside? What visual things would open up questions for them to be able to actually want to find out more? What language would be the easiest way for them to understand things on their terms? The other group are the church family, the folk that are coming into our church buildings, that we're in relationship with, that are in the sanctuary, that are worshipping, that are on every aspect of the discipleship journey. They're the two kind of groups. And outward facing communications on a social media and website and things, for me, wants to be more geared towards the people walking past the church. The internal things, Facebook group, WhatsApp groups, private member pages, church suite, things like that, all geared more towards the people actually within the sanctuary of the church itself. Now, the important thing to understand as well is, whilst the internet and online creates an opportunity to communicate our message with everybody around the world, which is rather awesome, we have to understand, and I totally believe in the power of the local church. And it's when those digital tools are most effectively used in the local context that empower local conversations and actually lead to when digital does what it does best, which is a stepping stone towards an actual one-to-one way people, group, context communication. That is what we're leaning for. And COVID has meant that many of us haven't been able to get together in the ways we want to, and maybe think, oh, now that's kind of going to be over, let's put that aside and let's run back to the way that things were before. Well, digital actually still provides this huge vehicle opportunity to reach and love and bless those folks walking past and allow them to see actually, what we're running with, what we believe and what we're standing for. Our audience outside of the church is astronomically huger than what we have inside our churches, and therefore it should be given equal, if not more, time, in my opinion. These are my personal opinions, I just want to put this out there. But I feel like we really need to make sure that it's given a huge amount of focus. This is how, we're taking the message out there. We want to bless people. We want to tell them about Jesus' love. We want to invite them in. We need to have serious time put into this. Otherwise, we're effectively closing our doors to people. And people are online, whether we like it or not. They are in these places. And that is where an opportunity exists as part of a journey to actually be able to be in relationship and disciple people. We can disciple them online. And I feel like there's a great opportunity there that we need to really actually not be too scared of, but actually go, no, we need to run with this. This is a huge opportunity, not to, forget other things, but an opportunity nonetheless to embrace and really make sure we give it the time of day. Now, if you're not comfortable and know how to use social media, and it's all these young upstarts doing different things, that might be your philosophy on stuff, and I appreciate that. Change can be hard. We need to look at actually how can we make that as easy as possible. Now, history of social media, let's go back to the start of Facebook, which was born out of the halls of Harvard. And it's reached this maturity now where every age and demographic is represented on there. And that tends to happen with social media networks, where they emerge out of a youth movement. TikTok, everybody dancing and have a good time. Where's it going to be in 3 or 4 years' time? Could it be the new main news source like Twitter is? Just because it started in one particular way doesn't mean it won't morph and change into other things as they mature. And new platforms will come along. And this is the other thing to really note in that journey as well, that platforms will come and grow and spike, and people have preferences for where they are. We need to make sure that we're actually adaptive to change. It might be they're only on a network for a certain amount of time, that we reach a handful of people there, and then we migrate to being on another network to make sure that we're moving with the times and adapting. We have to be prepared to let things go and know when to pick things up, and we can't do every channel under the sun unless you've got a huge team. It's about understanding where's best to focus our time. And coming back to the geography of these things, actually understanding the audience, the people outside, what kind of things are they experiencing their day to day? Now, I'm going to take the example of the Well. We're a church based on a main artery road into the city. We're close to universities. We've got some very established neighbourhoods nearby and some more deprived areas. We've got a real array of people. And we've also got things like lots of businesses and shops on our doorstep. So how do we best present ourselves in that context? And these are questions which you need to ask yourself and answer to understand the people in your locality. What are their needs? How are they best going to interact? And Quite frankly, if you're right beside, say, a school or a college, you would be bonkers not to be using Instagram Reels and TikTok on a regular basis, because there's people going past and they need to see and be able to connect in a way which is comfortable to them. If your church is in a prime location in the city centre around established businesses, particular sectors like that, then actually it might be wise to be on LinkedIn, which might sound completely crazy, but that platform could be a very good vehicle to reaching people in that context. So you need to look at the people that you're trying to reach and actually where are they and how best can you connect. Facebook is still the biggest network, and there's lots of talk about people coming and going there and the growth of it and all this, or the not so much growth of it. But the reality is, it is still the biggest and most widely used social network. It would be a great foundation place to be, and I'm sure many of you have used that well during 2020 and going forward into 2021. So, audience, big thing to consider. It's a primary thing, and it feeds into so much actually where do we put our energy in terms of our communication strategies. And chapter 3 is all about vision, values, and culture. So we need to take our vision, values, and culture and make sure that the way we visually and the type of written copy we use to talk about everything within the church has got a consistency to it. You need to create brand guidelines and stick to them to help that message feel really connected, so that if somebody sees a poster, it actually represents what's going on at the same time on your Instagram, for example. Brand guidelines, you can appoint a freelancer to pull them together for you or do them yourselves. Simple brand guidelines just need to be an A4 page, effectively, with your logo on. You have a header font, a sub-header font, and a body font, and kind of key color palettes that you want to use. And then just work with that across all of your communications so there's some consistency to it. You can also do the same with the type of images or graphics that you're going to use, so it looks like you. Make sure you're telling your story in your church context. One of the questions that feeds into that as well is, what do you want to see happen as a result of your communications? So to see this happen, we need to do what now? So having those kind of chats with others within the church, understanding why are we doing these things? Who are we wanting to reach? How are we going to reach them? What do you need to do to start that process? Today might be the day that you need to actually take your first steps on a new social media platform, or it might be the first steps to doing some specific design work to actually help tell the story in a better way. So what is it that you need to do to actually enable you to fulfill that communication goal? This next section is called chocolate and broccoli. What am I talking about with chocolate and broccoli? Well, chocolate tends to be, hopefully, a quick snack that you have. It's a short moment of great tastiness, and you really wouldn't eat huge meals of it, but you're going to enjoy a little bit now and then. Broccoli tends to be something which is performed as part of a broader meal. It's really good for you. There's a lot of good qualities to broccoli, and it's something which is considerably more wholesome for us. Okay, now what do I mean by that? Let's take chocolate as short form content and broccoli as long form content. Short form content is like 15-second mini videos on Instagram and TikTok and places like that. It's tiny little nuggets that just spark something off and hopefully cause a reaction. Long form is the bigger, longer interview pieces. It might be unpacking a particular word or teaching. A Sunday online experience will be more of a broccoli aspect. So we need to understand that both short form and long form content have their places, and how do we intersperse them and use them? We could think about the best times of day to share those kind of messages. The short form stuff probably could be best going to be first thing in the morning and last thing at night, with the long form more likely to be at times when people are more likely to engage with that, which is probably dependent actually the type of people you are on your audience. For myself, it's probably actually going to be maybe on a Saturday afternoon. We need to understand actually, again, who is our core target audience, when do we make this information live or premiered and available to people. Short form, long form, consider how and when you use it. So websites are really important. They tend to be the digital home of our churches. Connected to them and pointing in are all the different social media networks, and they themselves might come and go, and your website will come and go to some extent, but it will remain that central place. What do I mean by your website coming and going? Well, You need to change it every 2 to 4 years to make sure that we're staying on top of digital trends, the way that people use devices. 10 years ago, we didn't use smartphones in the way we do today. So we need to make sure that we're adapting to the way that people are actually using the online space and making sure that we're being current. Platforms like Squarespace, in my opinion, are some of the best networks to go to in terms of building a website. You can easily update and edit it using a mobile app. There are other versions, other companies available, WordPress, Wix and things like that. I commonly use Squarespace because I feel it's actually really user-friendly, it's affordable, it's just well integrated. We can have Church Suite, Google Calendar, all those types of things really easily embedded within it. YouTube streams and all those aspects. So make sure that your website's on point, make sure that you've got it right. Now, Squarespace have just announced as well a new member section within their website, which means it opens up a huge opportunity to make sure that the outward-facing website reaches the unchurched. Meanwhile, in the member aspect, we can actually have specific messages, specific teaching, stuff for people actually within the church and going deeper on their discipleship journey. It enables them to actually have a really easy place to be able to connect in that way. Other website platforms do provide similar opportunities as well. So use these tools for our audiences as best we can. Broadly speaking, people use social networks in different ways. Statuses on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, for example, often look quite different. So as churches, we can't do a one post to all in exactly the same way. We need to understand the quirks and qualms of each of these networks. Now, in the same breath, I want to tell you and make sure that you're aware that you can post to Facebook and Instagram at the same time for free from the Facebook Business Profile Manager. And there's also paid platforms out there like Buffer, Hootsuite, Sprout Social, which will allow us to be able to post to multiple platforms at the same time, which is really awesome. But make sure that the messaging and wording is slightly different and appropriate to the context in the place that you're sharing it. In the same way that we would deliver a message differently from the stage in the sanctuary on a Sunday morning than we would if we were telling somebody as they're walking past our church building. Remember, social media is actually really social ministry. We need to look at actually how are we blessing and speaking to people on a one-to-one rather than a broad brush message, thinking that it's appropriate in every context. So let's talk about design for a moment. We want to take the message of the gospel, the truth of Jesus, and we want to present that in a visually attractive way which reaches both the church family and the unchurched. Never before has it been easier to learn how to do so thanks to YouTube, with thousands and millions of tutorials and platforms which are free to use. Now, you might have someone in your church who is paid or volunteers to do that work. You might do it yourself. Either way, platforms like these really help. Canva, which is free for not-for-profits and I'd highly recommend utilizing. There are thousands of templates on there. You can apply your brand guidelines and you can produce everything from posters to Facebook banners. It's an incredible platform. Do make sure you use it. The Adobe suite, which covers everything from InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop through to video software also. It's never been easier to learn how to use these things thanks to YouTube tutorials. I myself knew nothing about this a few years ago, and having watched a few videos, I made my first steps and just keep growing all the time by learning how to do new things. I've started using the iPad app Procreate recently, which I found a great addition to my workflow, a great way to morph and play with pictures and illustrations. Not only is it fun, but actually you get some great things you can use in your church communications. Okay, we've got some specific social media tips we're going to whistle through right now, starting with YouTube. First off, make sure you've got a branded header, make sure your website is linked, create playlists on there so that you've got, for example, a worship playlist. You could use it to do a daily thought for the day, 2 minutes, pre-record them in advance and schedule them for a whole month so you've got that all sorted. Use it for live streaming on the Sundays, use it for sharing video updates. You can unlist videos so you can share them to specific people and groups. Make sure the name of the video is as attractive as possible so people want to click it, and make sure it's got bespoke artwork as well to make sure it stands out. Make sure the caption below answers what's going on in the video and provides a call to action link onto other things. Facebook is an amazing platform with great opportunities. Pages can be used really well to reach the unchurched, and groups allow for discipleship and people to be connected within the church family in fantastic ways. Make sure that they're well hosted, that there's guidelines. Think of it as a party, like how best can you introduce people within there, make sure that they're doing okay, and facilitate conversations. We need to be actively doing that to help them really grow and have value and make sure that they really feel like social elements. You might be braver than me in taking your first steps into TikTok. There is a huge opportunity to reach young people in that space. You don't have to do silly dances or whatever, you can do, but actually think of it more as short form videos. What little nuggets could you put out there to help people ask questions about things and lead them on to want to know more and actually connect with you to find out, and you can continue to feed these awesome little insights and revelations. There is a huge opportunity. That leads us on to Instagram nicely, which has reached maturity. There's people from every age demographic across there now. And it's got so many different aspects to it. We've got short form video content allowed in the form of Reels. We've got long form content in the form of IGTV. We've got short snippets of information with stories. And we've got the grid, which is there for longer lasting pieces as well. It's quite incredible. And you can tie in all the store aspects and the ways you can create groups and messaging within it as well. It is rather fantastic. If you're using it, I'm sure you know that. Look at ways you can actually build upon that. Watch some YouTube tutorials, look at accounts which are doing amazing things like Kingdom Company, a church in Manchester which are doing incredible stuff. Follow people like the Digital Church Toolkit. Those guys provide loads of great insights into great church communications. There are places to go to get some really good nuggets and grow your social media, and I'd recommend taking time out to do so. So we're coming into land, and I want to leave you with some recommendations to help improve your church communications. I would highly recommend checking out this book by Mark Crosby, head of Vineyard Church Communications, So Everyone Can Hear. It's an absolutely brilliant read. It's really digestible, it's visually beautiful, and it's just, I've got 3 copies. One in case someone needs it, one because I want to keep one looking nice, and the third one is so I can scribble notes within it. It's that good. My next recommendation is this book by Nona Jones, From Social Media to Social Ministry. I've not even read this yet. It arrived this morning from Amazon, but I'm that confident it's going to be brilliant because of the reviews I've read from people I trust, and because I've met Nona on a few occasions and she's really got a finger on the pulse in terms of church communications. So I highly recommend checking this book out. Personally, my go-to for church communication tips and advice is Pro Church Tools, which is run by Brady Shearer over in Niagara in Canada. I highly recommend subscribing to their YouTube channel. He provides some amazing insights and great information to help you stay on the pulse with church communications and really be aware of what we can be doing. It's always on point, it's really helpful, and it's really easy to actually apply. I'd highly recommend that network as well. We've just started to peel back some aspects of church communications, a topic which we could talk hours on, weeks on. There's so much to get our heads around, and it's an ever-evolving thing as well. And I'm hoping questions have been stirred within you, and actually there's been things put on your heart of areas where maybe you think you need to go a little bit further, that you need to learn a little more about. You know, connect with others, join the Church Comms Collective and do that. Make sure you connect with other church leaders and talk about the challenges they're facing so that you can grow. Jump on YouTube tutorials, read books, invest in the people within your church community who actually will be really effective in this area and in this space. There's so much that we can do, and you know, it's easier than ever in some respects to do it, whilst at the same time I'm aware there's so much going on around us. But these opportunities are there. We need to understand our audience, see where the low-hanging fruit is, and use these tools to the best of our ability to be able to share the good news with them. So thanks for watching. I'm looking forward to our discussions on the Zoom call in a bit. And if you want to connect with me personally, do so via the Church Comms Collective or follow me on Instagram and we can connect on there. Bless you guys.